Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend and welcome to the final trading week of 2024. It's crazy to think that this week we're going to be entering in a new year, 2025. I think regardless of good or bad things, there's going to be a lot of crazy things like usual that'll happen in 2025. We're going to be talking about this trading week. We're going to have a break, of course, on New Year's Day. What we can be expecting in the markets, some big pieces of macroeconomic data that will be coming out, what we're going to be seeing in terms of trading, probably a little bit lower. We'll see the Santa rally plays out. Historically, it typically does. That's a bullish S&P broader market in the last 5 trading session days of the year and the first 2 of the new year. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback, which was what we saw on Friday. We'll see if this continues. Talking about Palantir Technologies closing at 79. We'll be talking about this price action, some of the details that we need to cover. So thank you guys so much. If you joined the channel in 2024, I thank you so much for your support. I hope you stay into 2025 and, of course, with new people that join aboard. Now, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, if we look on the screen here, Palantir Technologies closes at $79. Number one, regardless of what happens to the price action this week, congratulations to all of those bulls out there that have been bullish on Palantir throughout the year. We've seen Palantir that has accumulated astronomically in its market capitalization. Its valuation, of course, has gone really high, but that's been disconnected from what we've seen in the momentum. The broader market has done very well in 2024. Palantir hitting at $80. I didn't personally think that this would happen, but here we are, and we got to take it with what we have, and this is something good. So for people talking about price action, bearish here in the future, profit taking, blah, 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 yeah, that could happen at any time, but just zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out on Palantir, and you can see its accomplishments looking at not just temporary hype. Momentum, opinion is all temporary, but fundamentals are forever. So talking about Palantir right here, closing at $79, market capitalization sitting at about 180 billion. We've seen a lot of price accumulation in the overnight hours, coming down a little bit here. Down about 1%, down 72 cents at 78.36. We'll see what happens. Now, one of the big things for this year, some of the key aspects for Palantir that has kept me incredibly bullish, personally, in my own opinion, is not just the governmental contracts with AIP, which has been astronomical in terms of the expansion of Palantir's business, but looking more into their defense sector. And I think this is going to be a big key player going into 2025, especially with the change in system administration. Now, talking about this, remember some of the big announcements that we did have as a recap for Palantir here is their partnership, talking with many other tech companies, including the startup here, Anduril, including OpenAI and Elon Musk, SpaceX, to form a consortium to jointly bid on U.S. governmental contracts. Why I think this is really bullish for the future of Palantir is because they're going against some of those typical defense sector stocks, like Lockheed Martin. We've seen this, that Palantir is starting to bring more utility to AI and is now incorporating that into the governmental and especially the defense sector in terms of a niche. With the products that they can offer and what we're going to be anticipating with the reduction of spending with the DOGE, the government of governmental efficiency, I think this can continue to be bullish for Palantir. And that's because what they're working on is improving productivity, efficiency, and trying to reduce waste. That is, and wasteful time is one of the big things. Not just money, but wasteful time. And that's where Palantir is coming in. That's why I think they're going to have kind of an edge in terms of these governmental contracts. Now, remember also, Palantir started this Anthropic announcement with the partnership here with Amazon Web Services. And we also have the Palantir partnership with Booz Allen Hamilton and high valuation. Talking about this, Palantir, remember, joined the S&P 500, has joined the NASDAQ 100, and Palantir has hit very high prices. Nonetheless, is high valuation an issue? Not so much, I would say, it's an issue. It's more of a concern rather than an issue. And this is just where the risk for downside potential continues to increase. Looking at Palantir and valuation right here, kind of what I personally make of it is, what's your time horizon on Palantir? Because in the short term, we have a lot of bears that are starting to come out of nowhere. I'm starting to see that people are starting to say, hey, Palantir might not hit their earnings mark this quarter. And if they don't, they're probably with the kind of expectation and emotion that's behind this stock in terms of momentum and just psychology across these traders. We could see a decent pullback if Palantir does not beat its earnings. Especially because Wall Street is continuing to put these very high expectations for Palantir. Now the retail and the institutional investors are also putting Palantir at high expectations. This is what we call priced for perfection. That if Palantir does not make one tick that it is expected to achieve, that is where we could see more negativity and selling pressure coming into the stock, getting back to more of its fundamentals. Not necessarily a horrible thing for those long-term investors that are looking to get in at a cheaper price. Because right now, getting into a position at Palantir, of course, personally, I would not be entering a position just due to the fact of risk for downside potential. Look how high Palantir is accumulated in price. Getting in at a little bit of a correction could be much more beneficial in my own personal perspective. Now, of course, do your own due diligence out there with your research. Looking here, some analysts talking about price prediction of forecasts into 2030. Looking into 2030 right here, and of course, a lot of things can change. Do not take this with any type of source or guarantee, anything like that. Palantir, they're talking about here in the next 5 years, what they could possibly expect for price targets into 2030. Price projections of about $125, an upside of 52%. So if a lot of analysts are coming out with price targets about $125 here, an upside of 52% over the next 5 years, then hey, maybe Palantir is due for a slight correction. And that would not necessarily be a horrible thing. What do you guys make about all that? We'll see what happens into 2025. But nonetheless, Palantir has had an incredible year, regardless of its price action. Now, looking at the stock futures, what we're seeing in the market this week, stock futures right now, they're actually inching lower as Wall Street readies for final trading week right here. And the major averages, they're heading into a year-end shy record levels and benchmarks right here. Investors hoping to continue into the Santa rally, like I said, this phenomenon into the last 5 final trading days of the calendar year and the first 2 in January. Typically what we've seen on a historical pattern, of course, this does not mean history, does not mean it's always going to repeat itself to 100%, but the S&P has returned about 1.3% on average during this period since 1950. Some worries have really mounted about the market, maybe losing some momentum. You have here some strategists saying that they think Palantir is the market is long overdue for some year-end profit taking. Could we be continuing to see that? Because that's kind of what we saw in the broader market at the end on Friday. NASDAQ coming down about 1.5%, S&P down about 1%, Dow Jones right under 1%. So some profit taking across the board, not necessarily a bad thing considering the S&P is up 31.4% right now, or NASDAQ composite, sorry. S&P is up 25.2% this year and is headed for the best year since 2021. And also, it's important to remember that S&P 500 is up 3.6% this quarter and is on pace for a 5th straight positive quarter for the first time since 2021. So the market is doing incredibly well. And that'll lead to what to expect in the markets this week. We're going to be looking at stocks in the bond markets. Remember, those are going to be closed on Wednesday, but also pending home sales, looking at home price indexes, construction spending data. Those are coming out this week. Specifically on Monday, we'll get a Chicago Business Barometer, looking at Dallas Fed Manufacturing Survey, pending home sales. And then Friday, we're going to get the Fed president here delivering some remarks, and there might be some more ears and eyeballs listening to that with the anticipation of what could be happening, of course, if there's going to be any changes with the potential for those interest rate cuts. Remember, the Fed basically came out and said, hey, we're probably not going to be cutting as much as we were originally anticipating. The market was pricing in about 4 interest rate cuts, but that's coming down to likely more looking at 2 interest rate cuts into 2025. We'll see what happens. mostly due to the fact because the economy has been extremely resilient. So inflation is sticking around. It's down, but it is sticky and it's sticking around. The Fed wants to get down to that 2% target rate. We'll see how this plays out. What are your predictions for Palantir for the end of the year here, going into 2025, and along with the general market? Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys once we get our first trading day of the final week of 2024.